Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Hi, Colleen. She's back this week.
Hello.
And here with Danny, of course.
Hi, everybody.
I just wanted to say that our in-person animal Reiki, we only have a couple of spots left for the Reiki 1 and 2, for the animal Reiki 1 and 2 in July here in Oregon. And we do have spots left in the master class. So if you were planning to sign up for the in-person animal Reiki class at the end of July here in Oregon, I would not wait because we only have a few spots left and then we will be closing the class. Also, if you are taking that Reiki 1 and 2, the animal Reiki 1 and 2, if you are a human Reiki master, you are qualified to take the animal Reiki master course as well. We do have another animal Reiki class offered this year online. So that's in October. So you have more chances to take animal Reiki, but if you're kind of like going back and forth on whether you want to take the in-person one, I would not delay to sign up for that 1 and 2 class. So that was the announcement that we wanted to make.
Well, welcome everyone. And also I'm teaching in New York with Animal Reiki Master in Rhinebeck, New York at the Omega Institute in September. And then also William Rand and I are teaching Reiki Master and Karuna Reiki Master on Mount Kurama in Japan. And the Karuna class in that one it's not, I mean, it's almost full to stay in the inn with everybody. You can always commute if you needed to, but anyway, all right. Well, I think we should get to our topic today. I don't know about you guys, but I need to just take a minute to take a deep breath. So let's do that together, kind of bring ourselves here. So just take a moment, close your eyes, and take some deep breaths. Breathe in the light of Reiki and the power of love and divine mind and pure heart, the light of the earth and the light of the heavens. As your spirit ignites, Reiki is in the room all around you. Divine compassion fills your breath. And the light of stability is coming in with the tree of life. Your roots are growing deeply around you, and your branches reach to the heavens in perfect balance, strong and stable. The ground underneath you is strong and stable, receiving the love and the nourishment of the earth and the wisdom. Your branches receiving the love and the nourishment of creation, knowledge and wisdom, above, below, and waking up within you. All the beautiful beings of the light are here, your beloved and sacred ones, and mine, and all of ours. And we are welcoming now the angels and the archangels as they carry the breath of the four winds of the teachings of the ancient ones. The trees and the waters and the stones, the earth itself, the ancient wisdom of the people and the animals and the plants and the trees. Just breathe deeply as your stability comes in, shining through your heart. Your heart light shines in front of you and behind you, and on each side, above you, below you, and within you. Bring your awareness right here from any place that you are scattered. And as you bring all your energy back in close to you, It all travels through the filter and the light and love of Reiki, cleansed and healed and purified, coming right back to you now and bringing your inner truth, your inner authority close in around you, your auric field, with the light all around you. Hearth, hearth, hearth flows over you now, divine compassion. We send the power of this energy and prayer to the places around the world in great need. And we welcome the divine animal kingdom and the spirit of the earth, the ascended masters, the enlightened ones of your heart, the beautiful beings we call our brothers and sisters in the light, those enlightened ones of the earth. Go within now and say thank you to you. We say thank you to each other. Open your heart and receive this light of gratitude as Reiki sends it to you, filling your life force and light force. We say thank you to all the enlightened ones, and we open our hearts and we receive the blessings of your light. And thank you to those who came before us and those who come after. We stand today like the tree of life, stable and kind, receiving, balanced. Thank you. And so it is. And as we bring our awareness back into the room, be aware that we are now stating the intention that we invite Reiki energy, all that is known and unknown, that brings healing and assistance to the planet and to the people and all the areas where it's needed. And we set that intention. Thank you. And so it is. And so bring your awareness when you're coming back. So I'm going to go ahead and go right into the topic today. We've been talking about actual Reiki, being a Reiki practitioner, whatever that looks like. It can be any way that you use Reiki for yourself, all the way to, using Reiki as a volunteer and or as a professional practitioner. So today what we want to talk about is distance Reiki. And it was specific at the end of, because I really did go into doing a short invocation, but because we were also sending distant Reiki, and that's the topic for today, is all the different ways to work with distance Reiki, and what does that mean? Enkaku Chiryo is the Japanese term for it, and the Japanese Reiki techniques that was taught by Usui Sensei, and whole thing to go into about that. But we'll do that another day. It's a podcast that's coming in with Olaf Bohm. Anyway, um, going back to the distance Reiki, one of the things that we've really noticed as an amazing result of working with Reiki online because of the pandemic is it has brought us to a whole new level of awareness of how distance Reiki actually works. And probably, I don't know if I know more about the how to, but I know that it does. So the results are evident that we can truly use the energy of Reiki to share it in the world on an individual level, all the way to the earth itself, everything in between. And it's very empowering because we don't always live where we can do something using, hands-on Reiki, in-person Reiki. Our family members might be at a distance. Friends could be at a distance. Animals are at a distance. The things going on, world events, there's so many of them daily right now, that we do have the energy to work with Reiki at a distance. It really works powerfully. And it gives you something that you can do. Like for me, it's what I can do today. I can come together, be community. It's given us the ability to do these kinds of things and be community from around the world, share around the world. I'm seeing it in the larger Reiki community. Like there is a huge just wave of unification energy coming in, like unifying, wanting to be community, to share. So distance Reiki has created those bridges, and it works for you on a personal level. You can send Reiki to yourself, starting your day with the Reiki ideals just for today. I'll not be angry or worried. Just for today, I'll be filled with gratitude. Just for today, I'll be diligent with my work, even if that's relaxing. And just for today, I will be kind. And so you can state a mantra like that or any other mantra that is beneficial to you, and you can either on the fly, just set Reiki into it. I intend this for me for the day. Please keep coming in and revealing throughout my day that this energy is here. And most of all, when you do that, you are aligning your body with your intention to elevate into that higher level of consciousness that Reiki provides. So, what we wanted to do is talk about the how-to. So many of you are already doing a lot of Reiki at a distance, and so, probably what we share won't be all new information for you, but it also can give you other words to use about it, as we all need those, because it's so hard to explain. Like, why does distance Reiki work? It's, when we think about the word miracle, it is. Like, it's amazing that it actually works and makes a difference. So there are many correct and right ways to do distance Reiki. Um, really, everybody already has the ability to share prayers and intentions for anything and everything in the world and in their life. When we work with Reiki energy, because Reiki energy itself is a higher frequency, we are actually establishing that frequency that is doing the work. The other thing that happens with it is going back to the awareness that when we do distance Reiki, The energy of Reiki is doing the work. It's not coming from your own life force. That's a huge distinction, and it changed my empathy when I learned that as I shared Reiki in that way, in any way, that Reiki is the energy that is doing the work, and it's no longer my own personal life force output. I was always a big overgiver, so the output was like this continual feeling of putting myself out there. And so when I started learning to let Reiki flow through me, and now today we're talking specifically about distance Reiki, now it gives me the ability to do the work because my empathy isn't connecting into the situation from my own life force. Now the energy of Reiki is doing it, and I can discern what belongs to the other and what belongs to me. So that's true in person too, but today we're focusing on distance Reiki. So for instance, today doing just that quick, short intention of sending Reiki around the earth, I started to get specific about some of the places to send it, and all of a sudden it just went around the whole earth and there's lots of places that need it more than being specific, although of course we're aware of specifics in the moment. And that's because that's also true and different for every person and what's going on for you and in your life. So the example after the invocation of us as a community just taking the intention of the power of the energy we were working with in the moment gave us the ability to send it with intention. And it was specific in having me do that with you as one of the how-tos of how you send Reiki. Because it's not always about, are you going to go fully into the depth and be in the moment and spend an hour doing it? Sometimes it's on the fly like that. Sometimes it needs to be just, I want to send this, but in the gist of my day, I need it to be like, just do it for me. And then we find out, well, really, the energy of Reiki, when we are sending distance Reiki and we're sending it, in that flash, like sometimes I feel like I'm just sending it in a flash of a moment, then what Reiki showed me is it's just a different personal experience I have with sending Reiki. When I spend time, like an hour doing it, or a half an hour doing it, it's an entirely different experience for me than when I send it at a flash. Reiki's not requiring me to have the big experience for it to do what I have invited it, welcomed it, intended, said yes to, for it to do. So for myself, of course, I love the deep experiences. I love when I get to spend the time and get to go into the depth of the experience and that deep inner knowing of the connection that actually happens when we're sending it, and getting to telepathically connect in, kind of, how you get those psychic impressions and you learn that they're true just the same as in person. Not everybody gets those if you're brand new, and it doesn't always work that way. That's a whole other discussion. But if you're making that telepathic connection and doing distance Reiki, first step, it's the Reiki energy that's connecting, not your own life force. And you are now observing it. You're not making that happen because you're observing it. So that what helps with that is now you're staying in that place of observation rather than feeling all the feels of it. Okay, so that was an example of Reiki on the fly, distance Reiki on the fly. We're sending prayers right now. There's so much needed. We are sending this energy and we are sending the intention that as a community, as people joining together, we just are letting the energy go out and do the work in each of our own lives, and then also all of us together. And of course, all the different, I'm looking at the chat, all the different people here in the chat asking for Reiki for their loved ones, for their life, for their circumstances and everything going on. Okay, so now what I want to do is get into some additional how-tos of distance Reiki. So again, the words Enkaku Chiryo that you may have heard, part of the Japanese Reiki techniques, and that is actually the term. Enkaku is sending, and Chiryo is treatment. So when I first learned the distance symbol, HSZSN, I think is accurate, distance symbol. When I first learned it, it was so complicated that I was actually pretty resistant to it. And I was also taught that it was only used as a distance symbol. But the distance symbol, the Usui distance symbol, means the origin of all is pure consciousness. So that's why that time and space, it's moving into the origin of all consciousness. So the energy of that symbol actually creates a bridge of light. So for instance, when we do the journeys here and we invite you to go over the bridge of light to the third heaven, we are actually traveling on that bridge of light that is the distance symbol. So because I didn't have a big connection with it, especially in the kind of resistance to drawing it, because I didn't always know I knew how, and in any given moment, this is at the very beginning of my practice, I did learn that I could just call on it and it didn't require me to draw it. I did learn later again by the act of drawing the symbol or any of the symbols. It's not what makes Reiki come to me. It's what gets me to Reiki. So if my attention is scattered, like this morning sitting down before the invocation, my attention was just totally scattered. So my fastest way to bring my attention in typically is going to be to actually draw the symbols. So the distance symbol for me, as I draw it very intentionally, I actually now see like kind of light trails with the energy in my hands. So I love the experience because, of course, we love that kind of thing. And so I love the experience of actually feeling that activation. It gets me there. It activates me in my own experience of the origin of all is pure consciousness that I am. My life force is made of that. So it entrains us. It entrains us to that energy. So the symbol itself is typically known as the distance symbol. For any of you that are Reiki 1 and you haven't worked with that symbol yet, you can still send distance Reiki. In fact, Robyn's mother-in-law is the one who taught me that before she was even dating her son, Robyn's husband. And I was with her and I only had Reiki 1 and we needed to send Reiki into the other room for somebody who was passing away. And we were actually, in the bedroom and they were in the living room. So and I was like, oh, I wish I had already had Reiki 2 so I could send it. And Cindy's the one who said, oh, you can, and here, let me show you how. And it really was just through intention. And if you didn't have Reiki at all, of course, it would be through prayer or intention or sending good vibes. It could be something like that. But if you're working with the symbol, I like to draw it unless I'm not in a position to draw it. There are plenty of times I'm not in a position to do that. One of my favorite ways to do it is to actually work with a surrogate. So he's my surrogate. I have this one that's a surrogate. And so by surrogate, you could use a pillow, you could use your own body, you can use a photo, you can even just put your hands on your lap. So a surrogate isn't a requirement, it's a tool. I like having my hands on something as I'm sending Reiki. It just is a comfortable feeling for me. So I'll do the hand positions. I'll do things like BOs and scanning, where I'm scanning my surrogate and still doing the hand positions. The main thing to know with it is there's like every right way to send distance Reiki. Whatever way works for you is how you do it. If you need to think it, you can do that. If you need to, actually you're going to do a full session where you're actually, taking probably 45 minutes to an hour, and I'll talk about all that in a minute. All different right ways to do it. For those of you that are able to see me on camera, I'm pointing to my peace grid behind me. I do a lot of distance Reiki with my peace grid because it is charged. The crystals are imbued to send distance Reiki, both for peace, but also for what I put into it. So sometimes I send distance Reiki to my distance Reiki to send the distance Reiki. So sometimes I do it as I'm walking by. Sometimes I'll say the words, sometimes I actually write it down. So all different ways that you can do that. So let's say then you decide you're going to do, I'm going to go into what is like a full session that if you were a professional doing a session. Another tool that we've been doing a lot of in this group and in the Distance Reiki Share is automatic writing. So let's say you're working with a surrogate and you're doing a session and suddenly you have something that, like, you get an impression. You don't want to talk about it in the moment, or, if you're a channeler, you can, but you can take have a pen and paper next to you and write notes as you do your session. So you might be going along and, your hands are on a surrogate or wherever, and all of a sudden you have an insight that you want to write down, you can do that too. So typically, what I look at, or the way this, I'm going to just kind of go into the structure. There's so much to talk about all this all the time. So we may extend this whole topic into further into July. But anyway, starting off with, let's say I'm doing a session where it's a real-time session, because some sessions that you do, you may send Reiki at whatever time you are available, and it's not dependent on the other person being, lying down receiving it specifically. And Reiki will go to them at the right time for them. So you're not always in the same time, but let's say you're doing a same time Reiki. And maybe it's even professional, or maybe it's for a friend or family. So what you might do then is you establish a time that they're available to be still and receive. And during that time, there's many different ways. I personally use Zoom on my phone. I just do everything. It's audio only. I'm not on camera. They can join in on their phone. I use Zoom because I can record easily. on Zoom. But if you're not recording, you can just do a phone call. I like audio only personally, because then the client can be in bed, they don't have to get dressed, they don't have to be ready to be on camera. At the same time, many people do practice on like Zoom and just like this. Like Robyn will do that with many of her clients where they talk to each other face to face and the session starts off face to face. So it's really that part is a preference. And also, let's say you decide you're just going to do phone calls. You can absolutely do just a phone call. You don't have to do Zoom at all. We do it because of the convenience of the recording and tracking everything. So that's up to you. So then you set the time and you meet with the person. Here's my personal preference and how I do it. You might have a way you already do it, and you may have a different personal preference. I usually will start off with the person. If it's a new client, I will say to them, let me start with the format of this session so they know what to expect. So I tell them how I'm going to do it, what they need to do, and also how I complete the session. This is all at the beginning, kind of what to expect. And then I immediately go into preparations. My style of preparations is an invocation before we have a conversation. I do that because I feel like people are more able to kind of drop into their heart when we have the conversation about why they need the session. So I'll do an invocation first. You can do that however. We have our invocation booklet. Maybe Danny, you could put the link to the invocation booklet in the chat. So it's on our website on Reiki Lifestyle. You could do, and you can do your own, and you can do it in silence, you can do it out loud, whatever works, and do it appropriately for whatever your circumstance is. There's, again, many right ways to do this. This is just my way. So I do a verbal invocation, and I let them know I'm going to do that first. Get the Reiki energy activated, get us dropped in very much like what I just did at the beginning of this talk. And then afterwards, I ask them, what do they need today? What's the session about? Sometimes, because of what happens in the invocation or time frames, I will just directly go from the invocation to asking them, what do they want to let go of today? And what do they want to bring in today? Because a lot of times that's the bottom line. And if we do have a conversation, I'm still going to eventually get to those two questions. So we may talk about it. They may even have put a lot of words to what they're there for. Still going to be those two things. What do you want to let go of? And what do you want to bring in? So then I let them know that we're going to go into what I think of as the third part of the session. And that is where, again, I have them close their eyes, get comfortable, and simply receive. And that's when then I use my surrogate. And to use the surrogate, I will use the distance symbol over them, over the surrogate itself. I will intend that the surrogate is, the person, like it's now going to become the essence of that person. And so I think of their name, I do it that simply. And then I go ahead and just do my hand positions as I'm guided. Personally, it's intuitive, but typically I still start at the top and go to the bottom. I like the automatic writing, to be able to write notes in the middle of it. I try to, I only ask questions of the client if there's, a real need to find out, or sometimes I'll, hear something like, that you need to ask their consent for this change to happen, or is this what they're asking for? So maybe I'll say something. I do let them know in advance that if they have a question in the middle of it all, they can actually ask me, and it doesn't interrupt me. But mostly it's not done with a lot of, conversation or talking back and forth. Sometimes it is. And so then I go through the hand positions, and at the end, and I've told them this at the beginning too, at the end, I will give them some time to start coming back. Many people want to just disconnect and stay in the space they're in. They don't all want a conversation. So I will ask them that, let them know that I'm going to ask them that, right at the beginning instructions. And then at the end of the session, I will say something like, I seal this session with love and light. Say thank you to yourself. Something that definitely indicates that the session is complete. And then I will give them just a little bit of time, you kind of just intuit it. And I'll say, would you like to have a conversation, or do you want to just hang up now? And so it's probably half and half. Whereas a lot of people, they're so deep that they just want to stay in the energy and not talk about it. You could either reach out to them later, or most of the time, we don't even necessarily do that. So those sessions for me are typically, going to be in the hour range by the time we go through all of it. Sometimes an hour and a half. If it's a brand new client, then I schedule an hour and a half, and then it might be an hour to an hour and a half. So that's the structure of it. We're going to continue this conversation about some of the tools and techniques of being a Reiki practitioner, again, at whatever level that is. And so we're still going to go ahead and go into the journeys. Robyn's going to do that next. And so we're still going to go into the journeys for you to be able to kind of let go and bring in. And you'll notice that in the journey. We let go at the river and we bring in at another place. So there's always that component of the session, letting go, bringing in. And the bringing in is the part where it really reveals within you. And that's the most powerful healing. Okay, so we have the Q&A tomorrow. So any of you listening to this after this is posted, the Q&A will be posted on Monday. So if any of you have questions or want to know more about this, we can talk more about it in the Q&A. Okay, I think there's so much to cover, but that's kind of, some of the basics on the fly, and then if you're doing a full session. So Robyn, I think whenever you're ready,